When Niall Horan originally agreed to become a coach on The Voice, he was well aware that he was about to embark on one of the most exciting, intensely competitive, and emotionally meaningful experiences in the history of the music industry. However, nothing completely prepared the Irish singer-songwriter for the electrifying mix of emotions that came with sitting in the renowned red chair. He had been a fan of the program for a long time, but nothing quite prepared him for it. In addition, despite the fact that he has enjoyed every single second of coaching, there is still a cowboy-shaped hole on the set that he confesses he is unable to ignore completely. Niall recently admitted, with his typical cheeky grin, that he misses Blake Shelton. I'll say it straight out. I miss Blake Shelton, N. This man is a living legend. His ability to ground all of us was truly remarkable. At that moment, you would be sitting there arguing over a contestant, and then Blake would make a joke about drinking whiskey on his porch, and all of a sudden, the entire room would be laughing. I do not believe that anyone will ever be able to replace the warm presence that he possessed. Following the conclusion of season 23, Blake quit the program, which resulted in a hole not just in the roster of coaches, but also in the rhythm of the show itself. Shelton was the personification of country charm and the resident king of snappy comebacks for more than a decade, spanning an entire decade. In the early seasons of The Voice, his larger-than-life charisma, cowboy boots, and competition with Adam Levine were the defining characteristics of the performance. It was a bizarre and terrifying experience for younger coaches like Niall, who had grown up watching Blake on the series. Stepping into that relationship was a challenge for them. Niall provided an explanation by saying, Blake was someone you could lean on. The fact that he had worked there for such a long time meant that he had a knack for making everyone feel at ease. It was ridiculous questions like, when do I press the button? That I would ask him. If I asked him, am I supposed to spin this early? He would simply laugh at me. On the other hand, he was always an excellent source of advice, particularly with how to interact with the audience at home. He is quick to note out that the program has changed, and in the process, he has established a new kind of kinship with one of his fellow coaches. However, even as Niall is reminiscing about his cowboy mentor, he is also eager to stress out that the show has moved forward. The coach remarked, Blake will always be family, but there's a coach now who has my heart. Blake will always be family. And I wonder who that could be. Not anyone else except Reba McEntire herself. When it comes to unexpected dues, Reba and Niall excel. At the moment that Reba McEntire became a full-time coach on The Voice, fans were uncertain about the relationship that would develop between the country music icon and the pop singer from One Direction. Reba, who has a long history of country hits and is widely regarded as a matriarch in the industry, and Niall, an Irish young man who rose to fame as a member of one of the most successful boy bands in history before launching a successful solo career, couldn't be more different from one another in terms of their musical backgrounds. Nevertheless, friendships began to blossom from the very first recording session. Niall expressed his recognition by saying, "She is the most nurturing person I've ever met. Reba is like, she has this energy that sounds like a mother. She will arrive into the set with a smile and a giggle, and all of a sudden, everything can be described as feeling lighter. In spite of the fact that she always makes fun of me for being the baby of the panel, I believe that she really enjoys having me around here." The viewers have also taken note. One of the most notable aspects of the new season has been the relationship that exists between Reba and Niall. Fans have taken to social media to proclaim that they are the dynamic duo of the red chairs. Their relationship has given a revitalizing sense of playfulness to the show, whether it is through the exchange of jokes about cowboy boots versus sneakers or through the collaboration of attempting to convince a contestant to select them over Michael Bublé or John Legend. To tell you the truth, I had no idea that I would feel such a strong connection with her, Niall stated. The fact that she does not take herself too seriously is one of the things that makes her a lot like Blake. Reba, on the other hand, sees herself as a protective mother, in contrast to Blake, who is more of a playful elder brother. I have the impression that she is aware of when I am overthinking things because she watches out for me. If she were to only stare at me, I would be able to succeed him in the coming years. In point of fact, nobody has done so, and Niall is the first person to admit that this is the case. With a forceful voice, he asserted, "There is only one Blake." There is no one who could ever take his place, and I don't believe the show has ever attempted to do so. On the contrary, what has transpired is the formation of new relational dynamics and partnerships. And that is the beauty of The Voice. It is constantly expanding and changing. When Niall is on set, he frequently finds himself pondering what Blake might say if he were still there. There are times when I'm arguing with Michael Bublé, and I imagine Blake standing in the corner with that smirk of his, saying something along the lines of, "Boy, you don't know what you're talking about." He had this ability to pierce through all of the noise that was going on. In addition, I do miss that. Then, however, he pauses and smiles, almost in an embarrassed manner. Having said that, Reba has officially won my heart. During the most chaotic times, she is the one who manages to make me laugh out loud. A profession that has the potential to consume you from the inside out, she has these wonderful anecdotes to tell about her career, about overcoming adversity, and about remaining loyal to who you are. What's more, I take it all in. It feels like I'm getting instruction from the very finest. Entering a new era of The Voice. Even while the current coaching roster, which consists of Niall Horan, Reba McEntire, John Legend, and Michael Bublé, may have a different appearance than it did when Blake Shelton and Adam Levine were in charge of the show, the core of the show has not changed. Niall's life has been profoundly altered as a result of the chance he has had to form relationships with musicians that he had previously admired from a distance. When you are on that set, you are engaging in more than just seeing talented singers try out for roles. Niall thought on the fact that he was starting to form friendships with people he had never believed he would have the opportunity to work with. As an example, I am currently seated next to Reba McEntire. Simply for that, it blows my head. Fans, too, are showing their support for the new dynamic. Niall has been lauded by many for providing a youthful vitality to the group, while Reba contributes wisdom, John adds smooth refinement, and Michael brings charm and humor to the group. The four coaches have collaborated to establish a new equilibrium that pays tribute to the tradition of The Voice, while simultaneously paving the way for a new direction. The shadow of Blake continues to linger in the most affectionate way, despite the fact that this new era is full of opportunities for enjoyment. It is my belief that Blake would be pleased with the current state of the show, as stated by Niall. His spirit is still present in the room, despite the fact that he left at the appropriate time for himself. I would like to think that I carry some of the fun banter that Reba brought with him, and he carries a lot of that country heart that he arrived with. He is never far from our side. When asked if Blake has remained in contact, Niall smiles in response. "Oh, he tries to make fun of me by texting me every once in a while. Words like 'your hair looked ridiculous last night' and 'stop talking so much, boy' are examples of the things that he will suggest. You can thank Blake for that. However, I am intimately aware that he is pulling for me. When I asked him about it, he said, 'Don't let them toughen you up too much. Make no changes to who you are.' That meant a great deal. In terms of the future, Niall has the intention of continuing to coach for as long as the fans will allow him to do so. This show is just remarkable. The challenge is not only to emerge victorious, rather, it is to provide these artists with a stage and to see their development. What matters most to me, however, are the individuals with whom I sit in the chairs. Blake is someone I will never forget, but having Reba here has been a gift that I didn't realize I needed until now. Simply put, she has won my affection. Consequently, even if the cowboy is no longer taking his seat on The Voice, his presence continues to be felt in every poignant moment, every laugh, and every friendship that is built between the coaches. And in the case of Niall, that connection has blossomed into a new friendship, one with a fiery redhead who just might be the only person who is capable of filling the void that Blake left behind.